Okay, so what I want to do here is I got this model from a student and they're having problems. So I'm going to try and fix it right here. Show you some key problems that are wrong. First thing, I'm just going to go in and I'll get out the hypergraph. Good old hypergraph. Dook, 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 boink. Okay. And let's take a look. I'll make sure that options, display, shape, hidden, underworld nodes is on. Okay. And first thing, we've got to try to move this character. The center of the character being the center of the grid just isn't cool. You always want your character standing on the grid. The grid is the floor. But one thing I'm going to do really quick is I can see some funny pieces here where there's nodes. There's double kind of ghosty nodes. When you have the doubles, those are usually something bad. Usually. I'm going to go in here to optimize scene size, and I'm going to go down here and make sure uncertain nodes on. Okay, great. Great. And I got rid of some of those problem nodes. Also, the hierarchies here are kind of funny. There's body, head, and things like that, teeth, feet. But I want to try to move this up. So if I grab this controller isn't working yet. There's some kind of funky thing with all the back controllers and stuff, and I move them up. It's going to be, yeah, it's not going to be nice. So, let's look at a couple of things. First off, I suspect on the skeleton there's going to be some kind of parent constraints. I'm just going to get rid of those for right now. And there's 4 back objects. That means there's another one hidden up in here someplace, and I'm looking. IK handles, and there's a pelvis parent constraint. Just gonna get rid of that. Okay. Okay, and when I see this bone here, this thing is somehow unparented, so I'm gonna go in here and I'll parent that back in. These joints right here, I'm not crazy about where they're placed, because what are they gonna do? What I'm gonna do is this geometry, I've kind of not sure what's going on here with some of these pieces, like naming wise and things like that. There's also a lot of things like a negative scale value in here. We've got to clean all these things up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the geometry and let's just go here to show none. Actually, there is something else hidden in there too. I'm going to go show polygons. And the eyes evidently are probably NURBS. This is, don't use NURBS. Okay. I'm going to take all this stuff and I'm just going to delete the history because I don't think the binding was that strong already. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to group that and I'll call this geo underscore group. Okay. So let's just see if optimize scene size gets rid of some of these things. I got rid of a couple more of these extra groups. Okay, and what's this thing here? Pasted head. Now, this is probably on some kind of layer here. Okay, so those are glasses. Again, naming things just helps. Makes everything a little bit better, and I'm just going to unparent that. I'm just middle clicking when I drag and unparent. There we go, and get rid of that piece of junk. And any junk over here, knee control, what the hell's that? Looks like just a group. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. There's another thing right here that's probably not necessary. Okay. And anything else? Okay, first thing, while I'm looking at this character, actually no, we're still going to try to achieve getting it up top. I'm just going to go back here to show all. And so there's the skeleton, and let's see, what is it? I'm just going to hold down Control and Shift, back control, controls here, glasses. Okay, great. And I'm just going to move this stuff up. And here, let's switch to the side view just so we're standing right on the grid. And it looks like something's freaking out a little bit. It might be the IK handles. The IK handles that are in here Um, I've noticed there's problems already with the feet, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of them for a minute. Just hold on a second. Ankle IK, pull vector. So there's these, and I'm just going to get rid of those things. And let's delete that, and I'll delete this. And I'll get rid of that for a moment. That was just a constraint that I got rid of. Okay. And so now we can start dealing with this. These are just image planes that are used. I'm just going to hide those. Just hitting H on the keyboard. Okay, and the glasses probably should be in this geo group. So, let's see. Something about these back controls. The back controls. This looks like it was used by the foot at some point, so there's all these toe wiggle things on here. I can right click and I can hit lock and hide so I don't see those. Okay, great. Now there is some negative scale values and some, let's see if I take a look at this one. Actually, both these have the same thing, so I'm just going to go and get rid of these. Highlight, right click, lock and hide, so they're gone. Okay. But what they've got is they've all got wacky scale values, and their translate values are all wacky. So I'm just going to go in here and go to modify, freeze the transformations. Freeze the transformations. Okay, so that's the first problem there. And maybe we should take a look at where their pivot points are. The pivot point's kind of in a strange spot back here. This one's in the center. That one's in a good spot. Let's just go and hide the geometry. So the geometry, I'm just going to select it. What the hell's that? Parent constraint. I didn't freak out the eyes, did I? Nope. There is a parent constraint on that one eye, and that probably shouldn't have done anything. I'm just going to delete that out of there. What the hell is that thing? Show. Don't know what that is. Delete. Was there anything else? Oh, there's something else hidden down here, so let's just go and undo that. Bring that back. What the hell was that? Geo layer. And this thing, again, naming stuff can help so much. The cylinder is a leg, okay. But I'll deal with that in a second. So when I take these things here, make sure it froze out the transformations. And here, let's just go and figure out where the pivot point should be. So I'm just going to hide the geometry, and that's what I was going to do. Got distracted here. Just going to take the geometry, and in this geometry layer, I'm going to add selected objects. Great. So now I can turn them off and on quickly. And I just want to figure out the hip control. So the hip control, the pivot point's over here. Hold down D and V, middle click wiggle. This one, D and V, middle click wiggle. Middle click wiggle. There. And now those are in their correct spots, so they'll be easier to deal with. And grab this, grab a joint, modeling, rigging. I'm just going to throw a parent constraint on that. Boop. This one from there to there, we can put the parent constraint on. You want to do this stuff, like actually, what is, hold on a second. Oh, okay, I got scared. For a second I saw this and I saw the transform and I thought I just got rid of that stuff. Constraint, parent, grab this one, that one, constraint, parent. And then this thing is going to be parented to that one. So right here, if I grab this one, middle click, drag and drop. This is back control. This is more of a pelvis control. Okay, so pelvis control, parent it to the upper body. Oh, the upper body doesn't have a constraint on this joint yet, so I'm going to go to the root and constrain it and do a parent constraint. Okay, cool. And I'll take the back control, and that'll be parented to the upper body control as well. And so now when I move these things around, yay! Okay. And what other things we got to look at? Foot group. Just going to move this thing over here. Actually, I meant to move it right there. All I'm doing is holding down control and middle clicking, and that lets you change the hierarchical order. Now as I'm looking at this, I see a problem here with the leg, potentially. the leg really, it should be straight, and the foot should be straightforward. It's just easier to rig. Okay, and I'm trying to keep all the rigging simple. By putting it on angles like this, you start running into problems. I'm just going to get rid of that light. Is that on a layer or anything like that? Here, I'll bring it back later on if we need it. And anything, is this got anything here? Select objects, image planes, so that's just a display thing. Okay. And that's just a geometry thing. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to delete this layer and this one too. Okay. And what am I at? 10 minutes now. I'm trying to do this fast. Let's bring everything back. We got most of these things in order. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, well, this thing here, the pivot point's in totally a bad spot. So negative 180. So I'm just thinking I can freeze the transforms out of this thing, but maybe if I hold down D and V, actually before I do that, I'm just going to straighten the legs. The legs are driving me crazy. Go to the front view. I'll just hit F. And if I grab this one here, I'm just going to hold down V and see if it, yeah, see it's off a little bit. And this is going to make the IK handle unhappy later on. And then I have to do some corrections, and I always find the corrections just never do exactly what I want. And do the same thing with the toes here. I'm just holding down V, and there I snap them all into a straight line, lining up with a hip. And take this one, here I'll even do it like this. So I go in here and I select all 4 of them at the same time, and I hold down V, dook, dook, line it up, great. And this thing here, does it have any weird positions on it? It does. You can see there's some strange scale values here. I'm going to go over to skeleton, and I'm going to hit orient joint. It'll probably tell me it can't do it because it says non-zero rotations. So that means I have to go in here to freeze transformations and turn on joint orient. When I apply, whoop, it'll get rid of those things. It's going to keep the translates. Okay, nothing to get panicked about. And then I'll go back here to skeleton and hit orient joint, and then everything's good. Okay. And then what do I think about these things? This one here, I'm just gonna, let's see, if I just take this thing, I'm gonna grab it by the hull. Come on. Not letting me grab it by the hull. What about the control vertices? Okay, and here, actually I think there's some more in there. I'm just gonna orient this so it looks straightish, and you can change it later on. Okay, and let's go back up here to object mode. Just gonna take the pivot point, pop it right there. Great, and freeze it. And this one here is called foot curve. This is like the foot control. And that is the left underscore foot underscore control. And actually, it's strange. This one has all the little extra controls on it. This one doesn't. You know what I'm going to do? Now, that's because if I took away that naming of it earlier on. Some of these might have to be redone again. But anyway, I've oriented that. I might grab the knee control here, and I'm just going to hold down V, and I'm going to make it so it's in front of the knee as well. Freeze the transforms. Okay. And anything else here? Okay. So we've got the controllers in place. There needs to be also a big parent controller of some sort with these feet parented to it. So like God control, I always have something else around here. And let's bring this back. Let's take a look at this geometry. So the geometry, again, name things. Your life is better if you name them. This joint here kind of bothers me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it in a bit. I think that this could have like a kind of a rotation to it and make these kind of bouncy potentially. So I'm going to put it there. I'll make a quick duplicate of the joint and I'll just pull that over this way just so it's visually pleasing somehow. And I'm just going to parent that in here. And here, I'll just take that one. I'm going to delete it for a second. Boop. And this one here, we'll call that L underscore hair puff or something like that. Okay, right? It's a hair puff joint. And then this will be the left whoop, underscore hair puff. And then I usually put end. Great. Something like that. And anything funny on here? Nope. So then I'm just going to take that and I'll do my skeleton and where are my mirror joints? And boop, there. Okay. And everything I went in and I froze these things out, right? Yeah, some of this geometry here, you can see it's got weird scale values on it too. So I'm just going to take this, freeze it. See what's going on with the other hand. It's got like weird scale values. Freeze the transformations. The coat seems to be okay. The hair, yeah, the hair's got problems. What about the buns here? Head. Actually, I'm just gonna take the whole geometry group and I'm just gonna freeze it there, so that should get rid of any problems. These feet going out on angles like this is just gonna cause problems for later on. Okay, just for rigging and stuff like that, it just becomes a problem. This is not the greatest topology on the bottom, but this is a pretty simple character, so you can get away with a lot of stuff. Just gonna take this and hit center pivot, and let's look at it from the bottom. Where am I? Bottom view. And if I take this and I do something like rotate it like this, put it something like that so it's lined up with the foot, your life will be better. I'm going to freeze the transformations on that. Let's go back over this way. I'm just going to take this one and just delete it. So this is L underscore leg. Great. Some other problems here. Let's just take the hip joints and we're just going to isolate these for a second and let's go to the right view. So with this, if I hit 1, you're just going to see there's very limited amounts of geometry here. This knee here, this whole section should be kind of there. Okay, this thing I might move it up this way a little bit. And I'm just going to grab the multi-cut tool and I'm going to cut right through there. And of course it didn't do it because I'm in component mode. So let's go back up to object mode. I'm just using the multi-cut tool and you can kind of just click and drag where you want that line to go through. Whoop. Okay, there. So I got something like that around where the knee is. The hip's got something going on here. Great, you're never going to see that. The ankle should have something like that too. There should be kind of like a line going almost immediately through this and then another one over this way. Here we don't have anything to bend the toes, so we need something like this. Okay, and I'm going to see what happens if I put in one like that. I might have to do a little bit of geometry cleanup really, really quick, but this is what you want. Okay. Okay, so that should be good. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete the history. I hit Alt-Shift-D on the keyboard. Let's go to, let's bring everything back. Okay, and if I go to the front view, is there anything funny about the rotations? Nope. Actually, there is a bit. Just going to grab these, and of course, I'm just going to hit F8, and that takes me into component mode so I can grab these without grabbing the bones accidentally. Or the other thing you could do is you can go up here, and there's a little thing that's hidden with all your pick masks, so you can pick vertices here. So I just went down into component mode that way. Anyway, this should be good. Then let's bring back the grid. If I take this piece, I'm just going to move the pivot point of this. It'll look like wiggle to here. Make a duplicate. Switch to the scale tool. Hold down J. Boop, flip it to the other side. Freeze the transforms to get rid of that -1 out of there. Great. And there's the leg for the other side. And name it. Name it. enter. Okay, and so that's better. And also, too, some other things to point out. If I go back here and I hit 5, so now if I grab these joints here, if I was to rotate them, and they had these things bound to them, right? If I took this thing and I grab that joint, and I go over here to skin, and what am I looking for? And I've bound the skin to selected joints. Bloop. So now I do the same thing over here. Right? If I grab these two joints and I wiggle them, there you can get a little bit of that kind of action here. Some other things to maybe note: this mouth shouldn't be modeled with a smile. There's not a really good edge loop here. There's a lot of problems. It could almost work, but it's just going to cause a lot of problems. These spheres here for the eyes are NURBS. I'd probably change those to polygons. And what else? If I'm going through here, there's just things need to be finished. This joint here isn't probably necessary for this character, but for twisting the wrist and things like that. But maybe. I don't think so though. These pieces here, they can easily be bound. I'm just thinking of any other things I should be pointing out here. This cleans up a lot of things though. Oh, just maybe one other thing with the foot. I made some bad end guns. Let's just go and take this, and if I go in, I don't like that. Here, if I just go and I collapse that, boop, and there's another one here. Okay, this is kind of a nasty thing here, but I don't think it's going to move, so no one's going to notice it. If I hit 3, yeah, this should work. A little bit of problems on the bottom here, on the bottom of the foot. But if I go and I hit 1, if I really want to clean it up, I'm just going to go ahead and hit G. And I always just try to make sure I remove the, actually this one here, I'm just going to delete it. And I just try to remove any end guns that I'm going to have. Triangles, the odd triangle is okay. And just make sure I delete the history. And then I'm going to have to go back and bind it and probably do some other things, setting up a few other controllers. But this makes life a little bit easier. And if I go back and I look here, how else should we organize a few more things? I like to take the root joint here and I like to group it. I hit Control G on the keyboard, grouped it. Skeleton underscore GURP. And the foot controls down here, again, I'll just do a fast one. I'll just create a NURBS circle on the floor. Boop. Make it bigger. And I'll just freeze the transformations, kill the history, and this will be like the God control. Okay, and then with this God control here, I can go in and parent, let's just zoom out a bit, take this thing, there's your upper body control, parent to the God control. The foot controls, oh, for a second I was going to crash. The foot controls, there's this foot group here, okay, and then there's the foot control itself. I'm going to get rid of this one. Boop. And we'll just fix this one. I'll get that into place. So this is our foot control. And let's just take this in the leg and I'll isolate them for a second. So I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to move the pivot point to here. And let's just take the CVs on this thing. And I'll rotate them so they kind of line up with the foot somehow. Okay. See how that looks. And fine. So I think it's easy to select from all angles. And let's go back to object mode. And I should make sure that foot is directly in the here. I'm just going to go and hide this. Make sure that this foot control here, or the knee control rather, D and V, Pivot point is snapped right here. Actually, that's not what I meant to do. Freeze transformations. I meant to freeze them here. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired. I'm trying to juggle through this. And that's the knee control. Boop. And actually, you know what? Just let's fix this. This bothers me when I see things that aren't big capitals. And here... Okay. And actually, I just noticed something on this foot control. There's a rotation of 180, and there's some other things here. So I'm just going to go ahead and freeze that. And then I can take this, and I can make a duplicate. Take the duplicate, hold down V, snap it to the other side. Take the scale tool, hold down J, flip it to the other side, freeze the transformation. So now this can be all hooked up with the set-driven keys. Actually, I'm just going to change the names of that. There. L. And grab the knee control here and do the same thing. There, so everything's got a unique name. The foot controls themselves should be parented to this, the God control. These little things here for the foot control or for the foot groups and things like that, those should probably be in a group called Do Not to Touch. Underscore GURP. Great. And anything else in here that bugs me right now? Actually, what's that? Let's bring back the geometry. Oh, this is the button. It's got the extra little ghosty nodes because I went in and bound them. Okay, but some of these things need to be bound again and reworked. And also, too, the very final touch is to grab everything here, and I'll just go Control G and group it, and it'll be like the master group. Okay, and if you double click on it, it'll close everything. You double click on it again, it shows you the individual groups. If you take this and you right click, you can expand all, and you can look at all the groups. So there, the rig is kind of still needs some more work, needs to have something for the head, but it's much cleaner than it was. And anything else I can say at this point? I'm going to stop right here.